Greetings and salutations. I'm Amanda Brawley, and I am honored to serve as Worship Associate today for our beloved congregation. On behalf of all our members and friends, I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Metro Atlanta North congregation, which we affectionately call UUMAN. We are a proud liberal faith community and a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Our mission is as follows: nurture our spirit, strive for justice, transform the world. And our vision is, UUMAN is a vital and visible community for all, bravely working towards the day when social, economic, and environmental justice are a reality. If you are visiting online with us for the first time, we gratefully welcome you for choosing to spend some time with us. Please fill out our online visitor form that you can access from the homepage of our website, UUMAN.org. Someone from our membership team will be happy to contact you. We will be having an online Google Meet coffee and conversation check-in session at 10:45 this morning. The link for this can also be found on the homepage of the website. Please feel free to email communications@uman.org to be added to the newsletter and to stay updated on announcements. So speaking of announcements, on February 21st, the lay-led service will be called Answering the Call of Love. We are hoping to include a number of voices of UUMAN in that service. This will be a chance for us to see one another, and hear each other speak about love. What we are hoping is that many of you will record a 1 to 2 minute video describing how you answer the call of love. We are listening for the voices of elders and children, longtime members, and those who have newly joined us. Once you have recorded it, you can simply upload it to one of our folders. Please email worship-chair@uman.org, which is UUMAN.org, for more info. I would like to take a moment to welcome our new members. And I just have to say, it is amazing to me that even now, as we are unable to physically congregate, that we are attracting folks to us. It is a testament, I think, to the beautiful congregation that we have here at UUMAN. Natalie Harvey has a 10-year-old son, Max, and a 5-year-old daughter, Etta. They live in Roswell, and up until this year, she taught ESOL at elementary school nearby. She now teaches language arts at an online public high school. She claims she is mostly an introvert, but she also enjoys getting out of her comfort zone and would love to get more involved in our community. She is passionate about making the world more just and making sure things are done the way they are supposed to be done. She says in jest, kind of. I think it looks like she'll fit right in with us at UUMAN. Tina Alexander and husband Dave have been married 17 years, and they have a 9-year-old son named Callum. They love their recently adopted doggies. She is originally from Macon, Georgia. Dave is from Pittsburgh, and they live in South Forsyth County. She is a licensed practical nurse who works with adults with developmental intellectual disabilities attending a day program in Cumming. Welcome. Valerie Bayless Rivero, longtime digital professional, avid cook and reader, devoted Liverpool Football Club fan, and Michigan Wolverine. She's also a new member. Welcome. Amanda Winders, I think it's Winders, is a native of Covington, Georgia, and has lived in Roswell since 2016. She and her husband of 6 years, Patrick, have a wonderful 4-year-old daughter, Nora. Amanda practices law part-time, enjoys hiking, reading, baking, and is excited to become a part of the UUMAN family. I'm so pleased that we have such wonderful new folks joining us, and I cannot wait to be able to congregate in person again. Welcome all to UUMAN to our service today. And now, let us prepare our hearts, our minds, our spirits for worship, quieting ourselves and our minds, being still, just being here, being now, in this moment, in this virtual space with each other, remembering that we are each of us part of the vast, interconnected web of all existence. Whoever you are, whatever color you are, whomever you love, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here.
From the poet Rumi, there is a community of the Spirit. Join it and feel the delight of walking in the noisy street and being the noise. Drink all your passion and be a disgrace. Close both eyes to see with the other eye. Open your hands if you want to be held. Sit down in this circle. Quit acting like a wolf and feel the shepherd's love filling you. At night, your beloved wanders. Don't accept consolations. Close your mouth against food. Taste the lover's mouth in yours. You moan, she left me, he left me. 20 more will come. Be empty of worrying. Think of who created thought. Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open? Move outside the tangle of fear thinking. Live in silence. Flow down and always widening rings of being. Good morning. It's so good to be with you all once again.
Amidst the swirl of life's challenges, fears, and even moments of crisis, I make time to gaze at the night sky to see the vastness there, and to remember that this moment in time is but a flicker, not an inconsequential flicker. For what I do and think now does matter. My work, though, is to let the debris of this world pass by, while I anchor myself to what I know is true. Love, kindness, compassion, and caring for this precious life, this precious planet, and all that calls this place home. This is my North Star. With love as my guide, how can I possibly go wrong? Let us light our flame. Light this chalice. Now is the time in the service when we share with each other any joys in order to multiply their blessing, as well as sorrows to divide the weight of their burden. Please use the chat feature on YouTube now to share yours if you are tuning in to the service live this morning. My joy is that my family continues to be healthy. Melinda, our Director of Religious Education, shares her joys for books, friends, family, fireplaces, coffee, and sorrow for no hugs, sick family, friends with COVID, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think we can all share that sorrow. Steve Allerton shares a joy for Jen Psaki, the new White House press secretary. The Cowans are happy to share that both Kelly and Presley have recovered from contracting COVID, and they share a lot of gratitude for all their UUMAN friends who showered their family with love while they were sick. The Botanians share a concern for John's dad, who will begin dialysis soon, and one proverbial pebble for all the joys and sorrows too tender to share. Thank you.
Now here's a story about a stain that just can't seem to be removed. It just goes from one thing to another. It's tough to get rid of this stain. It was no time for play. It was no time for fun. It was no time for games. There was work to be done. All that deep, deep, deep snow, all that snow had to go. Our mother went down to the town for the day, and she said, somebody has to clean all this away. Somebody has to, you see. Then she picked out two somebodies, Sally and me. These are the opening lines of the Dr. Seuss story, The Cat in the Hat Comes Back, which is a sequel to The Cat in the Hat. And it's regarded as one of the best sequels of all time, with the possible exception of Dumb and Dumber's sequel, Dumb and Dumber 2, spelled T-O. But anyway, and The Cat in the Hat Comes Back, the two children, an unnamed boy and his sister Sally, are home alone shoveling snow outside. And the Cat in the Hat shows up. Now, he visited them before in the previous book, The Cat in the Hat, and he made a mess of their house. But this time around, the cat doesn't stay outside with the kids. He's not going to mess around shoveling. He simply goes inside the house on his own, makes himself at home. And the boy follows him inside because he doesn't want the Cat in the Hat to make a mess this time. And he says, do you know where I found him? Do you know where he was? He was eating a cake in the tub. Yes, he was. And the boy admonishes the cat and pulls the plug on the tub and drains the water out of the tub. And it leaves a big pink ring, a big pink stain around the tub. But the Cat in the Hat says, not to worry. I'll use your mother's white dress to clean the big pink stain ring off of the tub. Now the tub was all clean, but her dress was a mess. So now the dress is a mess. How do you get it off of the dress? And the Cat in the Hat says, see here, laughed the cat, it's not hard at all. The thing that takes spots off a dress is a wall. And he flicks the dress and the spot goes off of the dress onto the wall. Now the dress was all clean, but the wall, what a mess. Then the Cat in the Hat proceeds to remove the stain from the wall by then transferring it to contaminating a rug in the hall, then the boy's dad's $10 shoes, a bed, a TV. Finally, they get the stain to go in a pan of milk, and then they blow it out of the house with a fan. Now the tub ring stain has contaminated the snow outside, and the Cat in the Hat calls upon some of his friends, little cats A through Y, to clean up the mess. But it just gets messier. Just like in the Cat in the Hat was thing 1 and thing 2, which made a mess of the house. So little cats A through Y just make the outside messier. Oh, the things that they did. And they did them so hard. It was all one big spot now, all over the yard. Then the Cat in the Hat calls upon little cat Z to clean up the mess. You can't even see little Z. But little Z has something underneath his hat called Voom. I don't know what Voom is. It's some unknown nuclear fusion, or maybe it's the Force, or some flux capacitor-like device that cleans up snow, and all the stain is removed, and the snow is all magically shoveled. As the Cat in the Hat leaves, he says, so if you ever have stains now and then, I'll be happy to come here again. Yeah, he then leaves with little cats A through Z. Then the mother comes home. Then the mother came in, and she said to us too, did you have any fun? Tell me, what did you do? and Sally and I did not know what to say. Should we tell her the things that went on there that day? Should we tell her about it? Now, what should we do? Well, what would you do if your mother asked you?
If there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there is to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. If there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. If there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. Taoist philosopher Lao Tzu, 6th century BCE. I always come back to this when I am sort of contemplating the world's ills, or our society's ills, or the problems that we face in humanity, poverty and injustice, and the people who hold positions of power, what those in power are capable of doing or not doing. And it feels a lot of times like these problems are so big, right? It's so much. We're working against so much. We're up against a lot, and a lot of power. And sometimes it can feel like impossible to make a difference. It can feel, like there's no way we can eradicate poverty or eliminate injustice, etc. And I love this missive poem, I'm not even sure what you would call it, by Lao Tzu, because it takes that global problem and makes it personal, and it makes it sort of attainable. It says, okay, what can I do about these problems? The problems in our home, the problems in our cities, the problems in our neighborhoods. And to me it says that I can start with having peace in my heart. And what does that mean? Being forgiving, being accepting, being compassionate, being kind. We don't accept the unacceptable, and we stand up for justice, but we work towards having the spirit in our own hearts that can make these things possible, that can work as a domino effect towards making there be peace and kindness and understanding in our home, to extend to neighbors, etc. And I think it also very much ties in with the interconnected web of all existence, how we are, tied in with that. Because it can seem sort of like esoteric and kind of flighty or whatever to think about we're connected to all existence, but in each person's heart is the spirit of life, and each living thing is a spirit of life, and we can absolutely connect to that interconnected web of existence by attaining that peace in our hearts. And also, in another practical sort of sense, I think, as UUs, we try to work towards, we strive for justice and work on transforming the world. What are we doing this for if we don't have peace and love in our hearts? If we are as contemptuous and hateful and disdainful as those who are causing the injustices, we're no better than they are. So for me, in my faith, in my UU faith, in the way that not only the principles help me to inform not only my worldview, but how I embody peace and love, etc., and fighting for justice. It reminds me that, okay, if we're going to be fighting for these things and transforming the world, I have to have the love and the peace and the compassion in my heart, and I have to try to find that empathy for those, not only that I agree with, but with those that I do disagree with. Otherwise, I'm no better than them, those who have contempt for me. So yeah.
Days and afternoons spent puttering around in a dark house with the windows painted shut. Remember New York staring outside as reckless winter made its way from Staten Island to the Upper West Side, widening out our streets along the way. The snow is coming down on our New England town, and it's been falling all day long. What else is new? What can I do but sing this valley winter song I wrote for you?
Respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. This is our beloved seventh principle. And I call it the beloved principle because this one, perhaps above all others, resonates with a wide cross-section of Unitarian Universalists who believe a variety of beliefs. Yet this principle seems to resonate with so many UUs independent of what they actually believe. Now, our beloved seventh principle evokes images of the sacred, the interconnected and interdependent balance of nature. That nature is something worthy of respect, reverence, and care. UUs might summarize this principle as love and respect for nature. And although it is that, it does imply that. It also implies much more. It implies that all existence is an interdependent web, that all existence is interdependent upon, well, everything else, that all we do affects all else. It implies that each of our actions cannot not affect everything else, that each of our actions cannot not create karmic ripples on the pond of existence. And as I said before, it implies in a way that we are responsible for everything that happens, that everything that we do matters. Although this may sound nice and neat and buttoned up, do we actually believe this? Because believing this has some troubling implications. Is the woman being beaten by her husband in some way responsible for being beaten? Is a person of color in some way responsible for the racism they experience? Okay, this might be a problem. I've been wrestling this for quite some time, and I can feel the shifting sands under my feet. Do I actually believe this? Do you actually believe this? What is it that you actually believe? When push comes to shove, is this just some kumbaya, new agey BS? Does what I actually believe about this responsibility, interconnectedness, and interdependence, when you dig down, does it pass the BS test? I've been thinking about responsibility and blaming and accountability. So let's look at blaming for a moment. Blaming is a form of responsible. Who's responsible for doing that thing? So let's look at blaming. Might blaming be a form of emotional denial? That we're looking for someone to blame. And might feelings of wanting to blame others arise from one's own sense of guilt, one's own sense of contamination and stain, something that we wish to dispel from our houses using any means necessary? Blaming often brings with it a sense of, better you than me. Because sometimes we know that deep down, in some way, that we are, or could be, guilty too. That deep down we are or could be capable of doing the harm and the damage that we currently blame, offload to others. Offloading blame makes us feel better about ourselves. Though really, we are no different. We are no different. We haven't changed. And the consequences of group blaming, group emotional denial, can be disastrous. The Germans were saddled with the blame of World War I. And with all the blame that they faced, the Nazis saw an opportunity to then offload the blame onto someone else, the Jews. They'd say to the German people, "It's not your fault. They're to blame. You've done nothing wrong. They've brought us down. We're actually a master race. All we need to do is get rid of them." Now let's turn the tables and talk about blamelessness. What does that mean? Let's talk about a make-believe, fictitious, blameless white person living in the height of Jim Crow South. This is fictitious, make-believe. This person is completely, ideally non-racist. They've never had a racist thought in their life. They don't have a racist bone in their body. They are, by definition, incapable of being racist. Yet they're living in Jim Crow South. This entitles them, by virtue of being white, this entitles them to a life of privilege, something not entitled to people of color. So does this, however, and does this person's blamelessness absolve them from any responsibility for the existence of Jim Crow South? Does it absolve them from any responsibility for the dismantling of it? Or is it not my problem? I'm blameless, not my problem. Christians believe that Jesus was a blameless individual, yet he was responsible through his actions, words, all that he was, for the dismantling of injustices in his community. The woman abused by her husband gets no blame. But what does it mean if we merely blame her abuser and leave it at that? Are we absolving ourselves of the responsibility to look deeper into what might be the systemic oppression of women, something that we refuse to dismantle? Those who stormed the Capitol on January 6th have it in their minds that someone is to blame for their suffering. And they are suffering. They are suffering. They blame the government, Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, Mike Pence, moderate Republicans. This is their misplaced emotional denial. Yet do we think that we can merely blame those who stormed the Capitol, charge them, arrest them, convict them, sentence them, call that justice, and leave it at that? They all came from somewhere. And by leaving it at that, might our blameless selves be in emotional denial, absolving ourselves of a dysfunctional culture where systemic violence is just part of the canvas upon which we all paint our lives? I don't know. I've been wrestling with these things about responsibility and blame, blamelessness. I'd like to believe. It's easy for me to believe that just why causes Z, does something to Z, and therefore Y is solely responsible, and there can be solely blamed for everything Y does to Z. The Tao Te Ching says, if you blame someone else, there is no end to the blame. It tells me that there's more to the story, that there's some interconnections that you're not acknowledging if you think otherwise. The Tao Te Ching here calls us to look more deeply. And for me, upon further examination, it looks as if everything A through X does affects Y and Z and each other in some way. And it just gets messy and complicated. And I can't help feeling contaminated in some way with a stain that simply can't be flung out of the house. At the same time, however, I must also understand, I must also see that amongst the stain, there's also beauty. Again, Taoism maintains that each contains the other. And rather than try to fling one of them out the window, out of our house, we find that we can't, because everything is caught up in everything else. It's not stain or beauty, but an interconnected web of existence of which we are a part. It's not stain or beauty, it just is. The Tao Te Ching says, the brightest path seems dark. The way leading forward seems backward. The smoothest path seems rough. The greatest virtue wanting. The staunchest virtue timid. The perfect tool without uses. The perfect sound hushed. The perfect image without form. See the world as yourself. Have faith in the way things are. Love the world as yourself. Then you can care for all things.
Good morning, everybody. This is our first Sunday in February, and therefore it's our 50-50 collection that benefits organization that's doing good work in our community. Before I talk to you about our next recipient, I wanted to thank you profusely for your contribution to our previous recipient, Project South, at the beginning of January. We have collected on that Sunday more than $800 total collection. So Project South benefited more than $400, and so did UUMAN. So thank you so much for your generous contribution. Hopefully we can repeat the feat this time. The recipient for February is the Fulton County Remembrance Coalition, and more specifically the Roswell chapter. As you might recall, we had a big trip to Montgomery 2 years ago now, which sounds like an eternity, where we visited the Peace and Reconciliation Museum, and we learned more about lynching in America. As you might recall, there were 36 recorded lynchings in Fulton County, and this month, as part of the Roswell Root Festival, we are unveiling the historic marker for Mac Brown, who was lynched, whose body was found on the Chattahoochee River in the Roswell city, in the city of Roswell. So I ask you to first participate in that unveiling if you can. There is information on Facebook and also in our newsletter. And also, please contribute to this event. We are seeking funds to be able to promote it and properly organize it, and also fund other initiatives from the Fulton County Remembrance Coalition. And just as a reminder, many members of our congregation have been involved in this initiative and have actually helped collect soil for the victims of lynching in Fulton County. So thank you, UUMAN, and I will let Erica talk more about that initiative now. Thank you so much.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am Erica Barnes-Ford, co-chair of the McHenry Brown Historical Marker Committee in Roswell, Georgia. We are a part of the Fulton County Remembrance Coalition's community partnership with the Equal Justice Initiative led by founder Brian Stevenson. EJI's goals are heavy: criminal justice reform, racial justice, and public education through featured programming just like ours. Now, some of you may be familiar with the Community Soil Collection Project, where soil was gathered from lynching sites and filled in mason jars etched with the names of the victims that are presently displayed in permanent art installations throughout the nation. The Community Remembrance Project is similar, and it's meant to memorialize documented victims of racial violence and domestic terrorism with personalized historical marker installations acknowledging their lives. One of our mantras is that there can be no reconciliation and healing without remembering the past. So during this time of truth and racial reconciliation, we have joined as a diverse grouping of people from across Fulton County to engage in honest conversations about race and ethnicity and to build consensus and connectivity among communities. Thankfully, there's a renewed desire for rich and more complex political discourse, civic engagement, and social movement related to our collective strengths. Specific to Roswell, our committee is installing a historical marker near the recovery site of Mr. McHenry Brown, one of the 36 documented victims of lynching in Fulton County between 1889 and 1936. Now, while the location of the lynching is unknown, his body was discovered in Roswell's Vickery Creek at the Chattahoochee River on December 23rd, 1936. And we want to change the narrative and advance truth-telling, beginning on the local level. And by recognizing Mr. Brown as a victim of lynching, we are educating the community by building awareness of the history of racial domestic terrorism and also the connection to the present for broader community engagement. It's a modern testimonial to our actual history. It's a recognition of the harm done and a meaningful step towards healing. Our virtual unveiling ceremony, in collaboration with the City of Roswell and the Roswell Roots Heritage Celebration, is scheduled for Sunday, February 28th at 4 p.m., and I hope that you all will join us. I am so proud to be associated with this group of neighbors and thankful for Carla's nomination for partnership with your church. So on behalf of the entire McHenry Brown Historical Marker Committee and FCRC, I really just want to thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
It's me again. At UUMAN, we give of our time, talents, and treasure. The offering will now be gratefully received via the Givelify app by searching for UUMAN. If you can see that. The app is spelled Givelify. Thank you in advance. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again.
From the Tao Te Ching, if you blame someone else, there is no end to the blame. The Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. The sage doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners. Hold on to the center. Go in peace and enjoy your week.